Welcome, Making Money. This is Matt McCall. Thanks for joining me. It's Tuesday, July 18th, 2023. One of my favorite guests, actually one of my favorite people in the world joining the show today, Doc Eifrig. Dr. David Eifrig is a more formal. You probably know him. He's been a member of Stansberry here. He's a partner. A lot of other accolades. He's a true doctor as well. He'll be joining the show here today, and we're going to dive into a lot of things in the market. But two of the topics we're going to focus on have to do with healthcare. Obviously, Doc, being a doctor, has great insight into the healthcare industry, which has been lagging as of late. But also, he's been doing a lot of research on artificial intelligence. And even more exciting, something I've talked about a lot in the past, is the melding of these two together. As healthcare and artificial intelligence converge, we're going to see the landscape of the healthcare industry in 10 years from now be something that we probably can't even envision right now. But Doc will talk to that, how he envisions how the healthcare industry is going to be 1 decade from now, and talks about a couple stocks as well. But this is a can't miss interview coming up right now. Doc Eifrig. Folks, the AI mania has taken the market by storm. Goldman Sachs says 300 million jobs could be affected. Others say it will create trillions of dollars in new wealth. In fact, it's already propelled chipmaker NVIDIA become the newest member of the $1 trillion club. Now today, the global race to find ways to commercialize AI and turn it into profits is officially on. Of course, regular listeners should know that I'm a big believer in the future of AI. It has the potential to revolutionize the world as we know it. Just think back to when internet was created in the 1990s and how groundbreaking that was. However, you sure as heck don't want to just blindly support that AI trend, which is why I'm excited to announce that two regular guests on my show, Wall Street legends Mark Chaikin and Dr. David Eifrig, are teaming up for the first time ever on July 19th. I urge you to tune in and consider what they have to say carefully. Just head to AI Race 23, that's the number 23, for full details. The one decision you may need to make with your money right now, even if you don't realize it. And why 2023 will be remembered as a year of the great AI race. With over 90 years of combined investing experience, there's nobody better to cut through the hype, answer all of your most burning questions about what AI really means for your money, and help you find the real opportunities to position yourself to grow your wealth as the story accelerates in the months ahead. Again, Mark and Doc will go live on Wednesday, July 19th with all the critical details. You do not want to miss this. You can head to AIRace23.com right now to make sure you're on their list for updates. Again, that's AIRace23.com. It's 100% free. So here he is, folks, Doc Eifrig. And, when I asked Doc what his title is, it took like 10 minutes for all the things that he does. Newly appointed board member of MarketWise, which is our mothership company here. He's been a partner in the business for a long time. And I like this one, chief bottle washer at Eifrig Wines, where, at the vineyard there, he's been delegated to washing the bottles. And you do a hell of a job, I'll tell you, Doc.
Thank you. And that little beep in the background was my buzzer going off. You got that incorrect. It's Eifrig Cellars, not Eifrig Wine. So every time you hear that, you've made a mistake, just so you know.
So let's jump into the stock market, Doc. We had last week, the S&P hit a new year high. NASDAQ did the same thing. Big topic this year, obviously, has been AI, artificial intelligence. We're going to talk about a big meeting you're doing on July 19th. Talk about that in a minute. But, also your background, as I call you Doc, as a doctor, is in healthcare. So one area that I've been fascinated by, but I'm obviously not a doctor, I'm not an expert in AI, but is the convergence of AI and healthcare. Where do you see that going in the future?
Yeah, it's exciting. And the reason for it is the sheer volume now of what a computer can do in searching and looking over things and then compiling stuff quickly in a really easy to understand or easy to read paragraph or 3 or 4. For example, this morning, I was curious to know, I asked Bard, which is Google's AI function or GPT chat thing. And I said, read all cell journals and all science journals and give me a 4-paragraph summary of the disease, the genetics, and treatments for paroxysmal nocturnal hematuria called PNH, a rare disease, unusual disease. And it's something that I could never read all cell journals and science journals. And B, it put something out in less than 7 seconds that and I said, do it in 4 paragraphs, 5 paragraphs. And it was readable, understandable, and it was something you could give to a patient who was just diagnosed with that. And so I think what you're going to see is, at least at the very quick from, 10,000 feet, there's a scientist friend of mine, I was showing her this, and she's like, gosh, I have to do a review article on a different topic. I wonder if it could do that and put all the genetic stuff. And I quickly kind of said, give me the genetics of this other disease thing. And it listed in a table, you say, put it in a table, and it's got 18. And she was like, holy, wow. So it'll help, I think, humans organize it, present it, and it might even be the form of presentation to humans. And people might say, one of the things, of course, that is really problematic. In fact, I saw on the cover of the journal this morning, ChatGPT is being sued because if it's not correct, that could be problematic, right? If it says, if you have, warts, go to the hardware store and buy hydrosulfuric acid, or, put it on there and you die, and, that's a problem. So some of the stuff that comes out is still not correct. But if you can get it to put together something, and then you could act like an editor to double check it, gosh, pretty soon you're saving lots and lots of time. So I'm excited for that, because I think it'll be time saving. I think it'll be able to compile stuff, read. Here's someone's already doing this, where you go in and basically read all of your medical records, and it can compile that. And I forget, it's a private company in Canada that's starting to do this, so that when you go wherever you go, it's literally on a stick.
Wow.
And we've been trying to do that for years and years and years with the transportable medical record. Who owns medical record? Who owns rights to your stuff? But it's coming, and the ability to scan everything is coming. The ability to go and say, look at all my emails and organize by whatever you want, who I've spoken to most, topics. So it's a fancy super duper search engine, but it's almost like a college graduate organizability. It still might not be useful for getting into science or cell, but it's going to really save a lot of time for people, especially doctors, I think, on the front line, because they'll be able to come up with, imagine this, right now you have to do it, compile it, print it, give a handout. Oh, you have this disease, as cancer. Here's what we have. Well, to do that again, you got to get 10 people to agree, and Well, now you can just go on your phone and whatever and go, Bard, give me the updated
Yeah.
Hand that link to a patient. Super exciting. The other stuff that's happening.
Go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, the other stuff that's really interesting to me is with the computational power, you're able to do things in a virtual world in reality with protein and folding of things, and knowing the rules about how the chemistry and the subatomic and atomic level interacts. Already, I know they've discovered 100, if not 200, drug possibilities that look to be useful and will be useful. And then most recently, I saw NASA, scientists there, they're looking for how do you create a spaceship that can travel further and farther and cheaper. And literally, it took ChatGPT 4, and it said, all right, read all the stuff in this engineering area and compile something. And the form is nothing anyone would have been able to come up with. The shape is nothing you would think. And they look at it and wow, and they start testing it and going, yeah. And until ChatGPT AI looked at it, it didn't exist in the mind of any human. And it looks like it's going to be structurally the shape of some rockets in the near future. That's, to me, amazing. Like cutting the weight in half, So
what's amazing, if you've talked about so many different industries outside of healthcare and different areas of healthcare already, just in that few minutes of you speaking, you talk kind of like, building, using it to kind of have this virtual world and build something. They call them digital twins, where you basically take something and digital twin it and basically run, it could be a piece of robotic manufacturing that they use to build cars. And you run through a life cycle of that. Anything that can go wrong, you do that through AI, knowing ahead of time, okay, this could break. We need this part. I mean, it's pretty amazing what you can do. And that's something that's just little. I've always said for years that AI is something that's everywhere but nowhere. It's already been everywhere. Google, every time you Google, you're using AI, your phone, Siri, all this stuff, right? But we haven't really felt it as the average person. You and I obviously know about it. We are in this business and we have to do research. So we know it's out there. But the fact of how quickly it became such a big trend, I like it because I know it's not ending. I mean, we're just at the very, like you said, we're at the early stages. They're still have wrong information. That being said, in the short term, I hate to call this a bubble because that's not true. I mean, but did we go up too fast in some stocks? Absolutely. We had a stock the other day in one of our portfolios that it was up 150% pre-market because NVIDIA gave it $50 million. I mean, that's not a lot of money. It's a drug discovery company using AI, and NVIDIA is going to work with them, which is great long term. But 150% pre-market's ridiculous. Right. I mean, it's insane. It's come back from there. So what is your take on the drug discovery? I'm kind of look ahead when quantum computing becomes more scalable, and let's say it's 5 to 10 years. You combine that with AI. Won't the drug discovery process go from 7 to 10 years down to a year, or maybe even less, and success rate go way up?
Yeah, I think what will probably happen is smarter folks than myself will realize that if you do it in the virtual world, you could actually test drugs, speed up time in biologic functions, and check things out. So you could create a pretty close approximation, let's say, to a human, make predictions about what might happen with kidney function, liver function. But I really think it's going to happen where then you could, 3D print a liver where they say, okay, if this person has this kind of liver or this kind of genetics in their liver enzymes, print a liver, feed it blood, and check this drug in there to see if there's really would be damage in the liver as predicted. And I think all that's going to come together quickly so that instead of us having to test it on college age, students that go away for 3 weeks and take the drug and escalate dosing to see how harmful it is on a young person when in fact it's going to be given out to 75-year-olds or whatever, you'll be able to virtually model it. And I think that will speed it up. So you'll have FDA drugs. And I'm winging this with you. I've thought about it, but I've never spoken about it and I've never read it. But I think you'll probably have FDA approval for human drugs that were done in virtual human testing. Yeah. I think that's inevitable. Instead of animals, you'll have, human models. So that's exciting because that will really speed up stuff. And it's going to be Star Trek-y. You're going to get a tricorder. You're going to get a zap on your shoulder. It's going to say your antibodies to chickenpox and varicella and RSV, COVID, all these things. And it'll dab 3 things into you at that moment that tweak it so your maximum immune function. And that's going to happen. And it's just a matter of time. Already you're seeing people. I have friends who, wearing the glucose tracking systems under their arms, and they're 35 years old. They don't have anything wrong with their glucose. And I'm like, what's your glucose? And they're like, oh, it's 87. I just worked out. It's at 90. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, there's no evidence that monitoring your glucose unless you're taking insulin or, really bad diabetic to be monitoring that. There's no science of it other than what's your hemoglobin A1C, which is how many spikes do you get? And, they all know their A1C because they were tested, but it's just a matter of time before you figure out, okay, David, can eat steak, potatoes, French fries, and beans. My blood sugar stays stable. But the moment I add, I'm making this up, tapioca pudding for dessert, or if I have beer instead of wine, my blood sugar spikes with those same foods. We'll learn that. And then AI will have that data, we'll store it with everyone else who's doing the same thing with blood sugar monitoring. And then pretty soon you'll have okay, if you have if you're from Germany, if you're from England, if you're from South America, wherever you're from, these are the things that you shouldn't be ever eating with your genotype and based off of data. And that'll happen real quickly, I think, because people are gathering that data right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, I always say this, and I think you probably agree with me, and I try to explain to people, again, I'm not a healthcare expert, but I believe that in 10 years from now, the healthcare industry, the way that medicine treatment is taken, will be almost unrecognizable to people today, what it will look like in 10 years. And correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I don't know what that's going to look like. I'm just saying I believe it's going to be unrecognizable.
Yeah, I think, prior to coming on with you, I was wondering where we would go with this talk. And I think what you suggest is true, that instead of me having to go in and have a real live doctor check parts of me, I'll be able to go to the Quest lab. I'll probably be able just to do a finger prick at home, put it on a card. I might even be able to scan it with my phone using a polarizing light software. You can see all the possibilities coming, but at the very least now, kind of almost what Theranos was predicting and hoping they could do. But I think that'll happen, and you'll send it off. Quest will run 100 labs, and it'll tell you, gosh, what you ate in the last week, you shouldn't ever eat again. It'll tell you things like on the days that you're walking. That's really, really great. Also, if you walk and eat strawberries, or because you're German, drink beer, whatever it is, that stuff will come out faster. And medicine won't be about going to the doctor when you're sick. Medicine will be this active healthcare. I mean, so I agree with you. And I think it's already kind of happening. When I see 32-year-old, 35-year-olds running around with things under their arms to measure their blood sugar. And they're, these people are power lifters. These people are marathon runners. Like, it's not like I can't look at them and go, you're already in good shape, but they're trying to now optimize, and that data will start to come out super, super fast. And we'll learn I don't know if I'm digressing, but a paper came out on body mass index. And I've always, the BMI thing is an old statistic that was in textbooks, and it was a way of talking about your body weight size relative to fat stuff. But everyone said, if you have a high BMI, that's bad. And if you have a low BMI, that's bad. And there's perfect BMI. Turns out finally someone did research on it, and BMI probably really doesn't matter. And, you might say, what? And I'm like, no, I mean, there's reasons for that. Like, I know people who can run 6-minute miles that look to be 100 pounds overweight from the BMI thing. I can't run a 6-minute mile, but I can walk 5 miles. And so they can run fast. They're overweight. I've got some extra weight on my frame, but I'm big boned and I've been scanned. I'm supposed to eat so much more calories than you would expect because of my muscle mass, and walking helps me and movement helps. And so BMI is not necessarily a measure of this, but we're going to discover all that science is going to come very, very quickly, and optimizing you so you're waking up feeling refreshed, smile on your face, your immune system's functioning. I hear you have sounds like maybe a little bit of a summer cold where you are. You're down south, so is it going into winter now?
No, it's still summer here.
We're
right on the equator, so they follow the same thing. But, you talk about the BMI. I did a show on the obesity drugs. I know your team has done some work on those as well, how big they are now. And so, of course, I ran my BMI. And according to that, I was overweight. And you know me, like, not trying to be, that guy and say I'm in good shape. But for 47 years old, I'm pretty damn good shape. So if I'm overweight, then I'd say about 95% of men my age are overweight. It was just so ridiculous when I saw that. And, just because you're putting a couple numbers together doesn't mean crap to me. So I agree with you. I mean, that seems like a very old way of looking at it. You mentioned, and just real quickly, the 3D printing of potential liver and testing and on that. what I think about Peter Diamandis's book, where he talks about the future is faster than you think, and the convergence of all these things coming together, and that's what leads to innovation. So you have the convergence of better semiconductors. You have the AI going along with it, the software. You have the 3D printing. You have all the strides we've made in healthcare. All these things converging leads to all the next level of innovations, technology, and technological breakthroughs that we'll see in the next decade. So, and as those technologies continue to move forward, which they all are. Heck, I was 2 days ago going on the board of directors of a charity down here for children, and they had what they call a maker room here, Doc. They had 2 3D printers down here in Nicaragua in the village. You know, they don't even have running water yet, but they had 2 3D printers that somebody donated. And watching it and watching these kids like make cups and make things out of it, it's amazing. Like it's the technology that's out there, and when you can equate this all to healthcare, an industry in my mind needs to be upended and just changed. I'm happy about the future. I can't wait for all this preventative stuff that's going to be out there.
Right.
I mean, so yeah. Let me ask you real quick from an investment standpoint. You look at, I'm just looking at, say, the XLV over the last year. You know, this is a big healthcare stocks. They've been lagging. Healthcare has been struggling as far as the stock market is concerned. Do you and your team see opportunities out there for some of these companies that could, even the big names that could be leading this?
Yeah, I mean, one of the areas that's really exciting, interesting is the diet and obesity drugs that we've talked about. These GLP-1, GLP-1 drugs that mimic and lock on to, they're sort of like a glucagon, which is a chemical. Your body basically uses glucagon to store energy in your muscles. And when you use up the energy in your muscles, you have to eat or generate glucose in your blood somehow. And that can be done by your liver signaling, hey, release fat. Let's start to use the fatty acids, the energy from stored fat. Also, we have to burn up some muscle while we're doing that, or eat. And when you eat and get those things going, these drugs and that process leads to, okay, now I've put in energy in my body. I have energy. I have a sense of satiety and fullness. These drugs are mimicking that and making people instantly feel full. And like, I think on one of the lowest levels, like you're losing 15% of your body weight. Now we're back to the BMI thing, so we'll put that aside for a moment, but that's a big deal. That's a huge thing. And the question is, will these drugs long-term work? And I think they probably will, especially now that we know you also have to remember that the reason you're full is this drug is signaling that, but you really are full. You really don't need extra energy. You do have all this extra body weight, for true, real obesity where people aren't functionally in shape. And when that happens, will people be able to override that? Will they start eating more anyway? Will they override these feelings of satiety, which some argue that we're already doing that? And but back to your question, yeah, those drugs are super exciting. And now we've gone from, getting injected regularly once a day to once a week to now there's pills that are coming out that'll be like a chronic pill taking thing. You can imagine someone going away on a week vacation where in the past they party with the in-laws, gain 5 pounds. They take this drug by mouth before they go and they don't want to eat anything for a week. So they lose weight. You can see this. You can see this happening with drugs like that. So I think that's a huge area. There's several players in that. Lilly, Novartis are names that we follow and look at that. So I like the biotech area as well, different kinds of drugs, but focus on being able to measure your genetic profile.
So speaking of genetics, CRISPR Therapeutics and Vertex Pharmaceuticals have their exocell, which is they'll have a decision by December 8th, the FDA, for sickle cell disease, and then TDT by early next year. And, I just did a little write-up on that, not that stock, but just on that went out Wednesday for my subscribers. And, I've been following the stocks for forever. And again, I'm not a medical professional, but, I'm a layman here looking at it. And the numbers are unbelievable. You look at, 36 months out and, they're cured. TDT, no blood transfusions. Like it's amazing. I mean, how do you see that playing out? Do you think the FDA is ready to approve something like that in the next 4 or 5 months?
Yeah, they have to, only because for many of these diseases where they've really isolated a single point gene mutation. Some of the work I did when I was doing a molecular biology fellowship at Duke a long time ago, discovered an eye disease, a cornea disease that came on a little earlier, was autosomal dominant, meaning if you got that gene from a parent and the same gene from the other parent, that the one would dominate the other, so you would always get the disease. It would always express fully penetrant, as it's called. So autosomal dominant, fully penetrant diseases, like many of these are single genes, like, oh my gosh, if you can insert a viral vector of some kind that's not immunogenic to the human body or tone down the immunogenicity, replace it, especially say in the cornea, the clear part, which is isolated immunogenetically from much of the body, the person doesn't have to have, and these people now have to have a cornea replacement once every 15 years. And it gets worse and worse because you're sewing on to bad tissue, and like they're blind at 55 and 60. And if you can put a couple drops or injection and fix that and put the right genes back in that part of your human body, how can the FDA say no to that? So, especially painful things, especially things that are truly cause dysfunction and deep discomfort, which going and getting blood transfusions all the time, sickle cell. It's happening. It's going to happen. So I think for sure the stuff will be approved. Now, will it have side effects? Yeah, of course. But
sure.
Let the individuals decide whether the side effects are bad enough to warrant not doing it again or not doing it anymore. Yeah. So
you talked about money. I saw one study. There's no price yet if it gets approved, XSL, but there was an independent research firm said that the value of it is really up to about $1.9 million for sickle cell because of over the lifetime of all the drugs and the blood transfusions and the unexpected hospital visits, whatever it might be, early death, all the money that's being spent ends up being about 1.9. That's the money side of it. Then there's a human side of it. Okay, this person's in pain their adult life and they die in early age. How about you're not in pain for 50 years and you live a long life, get to hang out with your grandkids? Like there's that side to it too.
Right. And arguably be productive themselves and add value to society above and beyond.
Exactly.
I think it's super, super interesting, exciting. I love that report. Is that something I could send out to my folks and Prosperity Investor?
Of course.
Like kind of mention you or something? Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could always have anything I do. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I wrote it though. I didn't even write it, but I'm not that good yet in AI. I wish I could be. I'm still working.
Well, did you use the HI program did you use the HI program at our company that has Eifrig at the end? Because I wrote that then.
Maybe. So speaking of AI, Doc, before I let you go, you have a big event coming up on July 19th. You, the legend, with another legend, Mark Chaikin. It's like two Hall of Famers getting together. And you're going to bring on a special guest, which we cannot reveal. But quickly before we talk about it, I want people to know that you can sign up now and get some information about that. It's at AIRace23.com. So AIRace, RACE 23.com. So tell us a little bit what people can expect on 19th, Doc.
Yeah, sure. So Mark and I sit down and we talk a little bit. We're interviewed a little bit of kind of our history, our insight and take on what's happening a little bit in the markets. And more importantly, when our guest comes on, we dive into really how AI is being applied. And it's essentially a look at what we were just talking about, what's happening in medicine, except happening with investing. And let people go to that to watch and learn from it. But I became super excited because it's not too often that I'm in any kind of event where I'm learning stuff, but I learn stuff and I've gone back and checked some things, and I'm convinced that that what is going on and what we're doing is super, super valuable and useful. And in fact, I'll be overlaying and applying some of this AI technology into what I'm doing already. But I would encourage people to go and check it out and listen and see what's happening there. And the guest is somebody that I think takes all of this very, very seriously. But Mark and I are there kind of as these old guys who can kind of question and doubt new things and put holes and poke holes and stuff. And we have a nice, fun time and being sort of wowed and amazed by what our guest presents to us. So it's kind of exciting, kind of a fun talk. Simple as that. Yeah.
I'm excited for it because obviously I think AI can't be ignored when it comes to medicine and cannot be ignored when it comes to investing. It's something that's it's here. It's not going anywhere. We need to understand how it affects your stock picking, your portfolios, anything to do investing going forward. And I will say, folks, Doc will poke holes. I met Doc probably the first time maybe 8 years ago, give or take. I'm terrible with time. And I think it took him probably 4 years to like me. He poked holes in me for about 4 years so I could convince him that I was the real deal. I mean, I remember that. It was
wait. Who said I liked you? What are you talking about?
That's true. I guess under your contract, you're obligated to come on my show. So I guess I don't know if you like me or not.
Oh, no, I'm not obligated to come on anybody's show. I want to comment on this, and I do like you. I want to comment on this idea. For example, if you think about in my lifetime where you had to pay $75 to buy 100 shares of stock, now you don't have to pay anything. You had to really follow stops, or you put the order in and that went down onto the floor and the market makers held your stops. To now you can have, your stops can automatically be executed with limits by computers 24/7 around the clock. You can protect your portfolio with things at high speed that you couldn't do before. And so all this is, in my mind, the coming together of AI. I mean, it's we talked about earlier, it's computing power that gets faster and faster, and then someone writing software that allows you to integrate that, and then the actual output is these technologies that allow you to kind of maintain your own investment portfolio, your pile, as you sit and take care of it and manage it. So this is, like I said, this is worth learning from and watching from, at least to know and see that it's out there. And we're a part of it. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I think that the most important thing here is the viewers will be educated, Doc. Again, with both Mark and yourself, and I know who the special guest is. I have high respect for him as well, and coming at it from a different angle than maybe you and Mark, bringing in kind of like the different angle to that is fantastic. And I will tune in just because I never know when I'm going to get a nugget out of it. Like you said, you walked away getting something out of it, and that's something that we've learned in this business a long time ago. You have to continue to educate yourself because this is an ever growing business that is it's dynamic. So if you're, I don't care what age you are, if you're a trader, investor, if you don't think about AI in your investing, you will be left behind. I'll guarantee you that. Right. But thank you so much for coming on the show as always, Doc. Hopefully I have you on soon. Hopefully I see you soon. I'll be back in the States in like 2 weeks. So hopefully I'll run into you back in the great United States soon. Yeah, please do send me a note where you're headed. If you're going to be up headquarter way, is that where you're headed? Love to see you. I am. Yep, yeah, I'll be back in headquarters for a week or two. So I will let you know. And awesome. We'll grab some Eifrig wine and bite to eat. I love it. Fantastic. All right. Thanks a lot, Doc. Again, people don't forget, it's AIRace23.com, AIRace23.com. Check it out. Mark Chaikin, Doc Eifrig, and special guest coming up on July 19th. Doc, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, buddy. Thanks. Bye, Matt.
Opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the contributor and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Stansberry Research, its parent company, or affiliates.